Hey Chicken Hunters, my name's Tazz. Today I wanted to talk about the top 3 changes I'd like to see happen in Realm Royale. I've had a lot of discussions on the Realm subreddit, the official Discord, and rambling endlessly on my stream about aspects of the game I'd like to see work differently, so I thought it'd be nice to gather my thoughts in a bit of a more organized and well thought out fashion. Realm has been growing a lot recently, so I think it's a good time to have discussions like this, and I want to see how other members of the community feel about what I think. The first topic I want to talk about is probably one of the more controversial changes from Open Beta Patch 14, the change to ability cooldowns. OB14 greatly increased ability cooldowns across the board. This changes gameplay a ton. After this change, players need to make sure they get the most value they can when using an ability, and misusing one is even more punishing because of the long cooldown. Because the cooldown of movement abilities are so long, decision making, positioning, and how you approach fights need to be played way differently than before. One of the main reasons this change was made was due to talents being introduced to the game. It seems like there's a trade-off between having interesting and powerful talents with longer ability cooldowns or weaker talents with shorter cooldowns. If cooldowns are too short, then talents can't be as interesting or powerful, or else they'll be overpowered. But if cooldowns are too long, the game won't be as fun as it could be because abilities are one of the most unique aspects that make the game fun. Personally, I enjoy the game with less spammable abilities. It makes it even more important to get the most value out of using an ability and rewards good positioning while punishing mistakes very hard. With that being said, I think ability cooldowns are too far on the long side. I'd like to see all ability cooldowns reduced by 20% and then the cooldown reduction runes nerfed to reduce cooldowns by 30% instead of 50%. This would actually slightly increase the minimum cooldown you can get on an ability with the rune, but overall, players would enjoy slightly reduced cooldowns and looting a CDR rune won't be as much of a power spike over other players. And since we're going down the route of making ability cooldowns much higher than before, certain abilities feel really weak at lower rarities because the cooldown was raised so much, but the ability strength was left unchanged. Take Healing Shout for example. Common Healing Shout has a whopping 40-second cooldown while only healing for 250 health points. That's less than a health potion. I think a good change would be balancing abilities more heavily by cooldown while bringing the strength between rarities closer together. This would make all abilities feel like they can impact the game when you use them. Higher rarity abilities would only be slightly stronger in terms of damage or healing, but you'd be able to use them more often. Essentially, I'm suggesting that Realm benefits from having abilities feel strong, and that all abilities should feel useful when you use them. Higher rarities should be more beneficial because you'd get to use them more often, not necessarily because they would deal much more damage or heal more. The next topic I want to bring up deals with elements. I've never really liked elements in Realm Royale. Not because I think they're overpowered on certain guns, so you need to balance the base damage of the gun to compensate, but more because I don't find them particularly interesting. Currently, elements are extremely boring. They just appear on a weapon when you craft or find a legendary class weapon. I feel like this is a huge missed opportunity. Elements would be so much more interesting if the player had to proactively work towards imbuing or enchanting their weapon with an element. Imagine if you could find elemental orbs as you play. Maybe they could only drop from loot goblins and zeppelin chests, or maybe even it's an opportunity to add elemental NPCs to the game that could always drop an elemental orb. Once players find an elemental orb, they can take it to the forge or maybe even a new type of structure like an enchanting table to imbue the element into a legendary weapon they already have. This change alone would make elements so much more interesting and also introduce an opportunity to add different types of elemental orbs. For example, I think they can remove the lifesteal rune and add that to an element that would grant the same effect. Overall, I think elements are fine in the game, but the way you get them could be improved. Adding this change would give players another objective in the game they can pursue to feel like they're upgrading their character and becoming progressively stronger. This is the perfect time for a change like this because talents have made it so players can get their desired loadout in the early to mid stages of the game. This makes forging less of a necessary objective later in the game. The addition of elemental orbs would create an objective players would pursue in the mid to late stages of the game, since you would need to have a legendary weapon to upgrade, and you would only want to upgrade a weapon you know you're going to use for the rest of the game. One of Hi-Rez's main goals is to have players feel like they're progressively getting stronger as the game goes on, and I think changing up how you get elemental upgrades would really help achieve that. The last topic I want to discuss deals with runes. Similar to elements, I've never really felt runes had a solid implementation. I like that they help make a player feel stronger as the game goes on, but I feel like the player should have more control over how they get stronger. Currently, most players equip a rune when they find one, and since you can't drop them, you end up with the first 6 you come across. The power gap between the best rune and the worst rune is massive, making the entire system that's based on RNG feel even worse. I think runes need a bit of a rework, and here's how I think it should be done. First, there needs to be some balance changes. If all runes have a more consistent power level, the RNG of looting runes wouldn't feel as bad. Runes like the CDR and reload speed runes are a bit overtuned and could be dialed back just a bit. Since chicken talents have been introduced, I think all chicken based runes could be removed. I never liked them in the game anyway, because who wants to loot a rune that you need to get down to make use of? Finally, passive repair rune needs to be removed from the game. If armor pots are going to be such a scarce resource, this rune simply cannot exist. It's just far too strong. After making runes more consistently powerful, they should be separated into 3 categories: offensive, defensive, and utility. Players would be able to equip only one of each category, but could swap runes for new ones they find if they'd like. This would open the door for design opportunities for runes, since the combinations would be somewhat restricted. The developers can make 2 runes in the same category and not worry about them being overpowered together. Finally, in each forge you'd be able to craft 1 rune, but could pick what category you'd want that rune to be. This maintains the RNG, but gives the player some control over that RNG. At its core, I love how runes impact the game. It's a good experience as a player to find these power-ups throughout the map and change up how you play to take advantage of what you find. I just think the system needs to be a little bit better and more flexible while still achieving the same goal. So those are 3 big changes or reworks I'd like to see happen in Realm Royale. I'm not saying that these are make or break things that the game needs to fix, but more I'm trying to key in on aspects of the game I have an issue with and what I would do to fix them. I'm really interested to hear what others think about these topics and my proposed solutions. Maybe you think elements are fine as is, or maybe you think they're flawed but should be fixed in a different way. Either way, my main goal is to open up discussion around these features of the game and hear what other players think. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to creating YouTube content, but I'm really interested in seeing if it's something I can do. Please let me know what you liked or disliked about the video and what type of Realm content you'd be interested in seeing in the future. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, or you can find me frequently discussing Realm in Reddit threads, the official Realm Discord, or my stream on Twitch. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all around the Realm community.